Everyone, I am back. Earlier in the video, we talked about the various approaches, the spiral approach versus the mastery approach, and how to make a decision as to which one is better for your student. We also talked about earlier in the video, I'm not sure if this video is going to be merged with the first part before I had to leave, or this video is going to be part 2 of the original. But right now I'm just basically giving a quick review of what we talked about earlier in the video, which may end up being part 1 of this 2-part discussion. So again, we spoke about spiral versus mastery, how to make a decision on which method to choose. We also spoke about the difference between a mathy student versus a traditionally paced student, and a student that may require a gentler curriculum because they may need some additional time to process math concepts. We also talked about the fact that whether or not your student is mathy or not doesn't really have anything to do with the approach that you take, spiral versus mastery. We also talked about you as the parent, as the teacher, what you should consider when choosing a curriculum in terms of your comfortability in teaching math. And we talked about some options that you as teacher, parent, what you can do if you're not so comfortable with math. And if you're not and your student is mathy, what are some options that you have? And lastly, we also talked about online curriculum or programs, video programs versus workbooks, consumable products, and a textbook. And we talked about ways in which you can decide which method of learning will best suit your child. And I think I left off the video talking about learning styles, how to ensure that when you are looking for a program or curriculum that you consider your child's learning style. So let's go ahead and pick up where we last left off. And again, I will continue to look down at my notes because I did write some bullet points down earlier, and I just want to make sure that I don't miss any information for you today. So the edition. Does it matter what edition we're choosing in terms of our math books? A 1950 edition versus a 1980s edition versus a 2018 edition? Does it really matter? In my humble opinion, guys, the edition of a book, specifically in the areas of science and math, doesn't really matter to me personally. Math is math. How you add, how you do fractions, how you subtract, multiply, divide, how you understand exponents and algebraic expressions and patterns and geometry and quadrilaterals and so forth. That information does not change. However, the method and approach that one may take to solve the problems for those concepts may change, especially if you're in a Common Core state. For example, with division, some curriculums may show you how to do division in a very logical, methodical manner, like Singapore. Some may use the Big 7 method of division, and some state Common Core curriculums require your students to learn the method and approach in which they want the student to take in order to understand a concept. That may be something of interest to you. So if you care about the methods or approach that any one particular curriculum takes, then you may want to get the newest edition, right? But if you care about the concept itself and you really don't want Common Core to play a role in your curriculum, and you're going to use other methods or resources to teach your son or daughter, then the edition really doesn't matter. Me personally, it doesn't matter. It's whatever I can get at a good deal, okay, or on sale, and it's usually the older curriculums, and that's what I normally stick with. Next, know how the program works. When you purchase curriculum, you have to really make a decision and do some research to determine, how is this curriculum supposed to work? Can I just buy the textbook and keep going? Or do I need the drill sheets? Do I need the word problem booklets? Do I need the teacher edition? Do I need the answer key? Do I need the separate test that may come with it? Do I need the extra practice problems? You really have to read and understand how the program works together in order for you and your student to truly benefit from what the author envisioned. Okay. In many instances, I have found that if I give someone a recommendation, for example, they'll come back and they'll say, that didn't work for my child, or that's way too easy for my child, or I don't like it. So my first question is, did you read the manual? Did you understand how the program is supposed to work? And that in order for the program to work effectively in this particular situation, you may need or you should get the instructor's manual, because they provide projects and examples of how to teach the concept, and they give you other resources that you can pull in order to help the child further understand something or think about it in a different way, in order to ensure that they're learning this concept in multiple ways. They may not have done that. So when you're looking at your curriculum, you really have to look at all the pieces that the author is asking you to purchase or recommending that you purchase together. And then once you look at it, then you can make a decision as to whether or not you need that particular aspect of the curriculum. And if you pull something out, will the curriculum still function as envisioned? Will the curriculum still flow as envisioned? So keep that in mind. Know how the curriculum is supposed to work. That doesn't mean you have to go and purchase every single component, all the manipulatives, all the workbooks, all the extra sheets. You may not need to do that, but you do need to have an understanding as to what they're there for, how they're supposed to work, in order to make an informed decision as to whether or not you really need them. Okay. Next, I would say this is a big one. You guys know this, right? No one curriculum is perfect. So when you see these things on YouTube, I found the perfect curriculum. Dun, dun, dun. 6 months later, I'm changing it. Guys, you have to keep in mind that there is no one shoe or one size fits all. There really isn't. Your child may flourish with one curriculum for 2 years, and next year it's just not clicking because the concepts have changed. The method that they're using to teach the concepts may have changed, and you may have to change with that. Okay, be open to that. Understand that you may have to pull additional resources and supplements with your curriculum in order to make it work. Your child may not be a workbook, textbook, or even online video type child. You may have one of those children that just like to do things on the board as examples. They can catch it. They'll do a few problems here and there. You can quiz them, test them however you like, and they just get it. And you may not need to use the entire curriculum. You may be able to jump from chapter 1 to chapter 10 in a spiral program, because they get the patterns, they get the logic, they understand it. They can, look at it for 5, 10, 15 minutes and then it clicks. They understand. If you teach it to them maybe once or twice, they do a few examples, it clicks. They understand. There's no need to do the next 5 or 10 chapters that basically review all that information, or the next 5 or 10 chapters that provides additional incremental steps to that concept, because they get it. So you may run through your curriculum quicker than normal. And if your child is like that, you may not want to purchase any one big consolidated curriculum. You may want to do math in more of a unit study, or you may want to buy these things called life packs, where you focus on something and you move on, focus on something else and you move on. I think life pack is mastering, but but you may want to do unit studies, where you choose a concept, work on that concept for a month, go on to the next completely different concept for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month, and do a unit study on that. Do the same thing for the next 3 months, the next thing for the next week. It just depends on how long it takes your child to understand and comprehend those concepts. But if you're going to use the unit study approach that way, I would highly recommend that you spiral in some stuff in the form of a review. Okay, we don't do tests or quizzes in the formal sense for maintaining or tracking grades. Since my child is in the 5th grade, we'll do that later on when they're in the 7th and 8th grade when they need high school credit and stuff. But if you do those types of things in your homeschool, then spiral through the information that was previously taught if you're doing like unit study, that unit study approach to math, just to ensure that they can recall the information they learned 3 months ago or 2 months ago and things of that nature, and put it on a quiz, put it on a test, rather than bringing it back in every week or every 2 weeks, because I promise you it'll frustrate some children. Let me see. Oh, I also wrote down here, be open to using more than one curriculum. I use more than one curriculum. I use Beast Academy, Life of Fred, Math Mammoth, and Saxon. Those are the 4 things that I really use. I use Abeka for teaching. Why do I do that? Only because I got the book for like $1. I got grade 4, grade 5, grade 6 for like $1, $1.50 at, I want to say it was a thrift store, or I got it from a bookstore in the aisle where they have like deep discounts. So I saw it and I said, oh, I never used the Becca, so let me go ahead and try it out. And I looked at it and I said, well, too many concepts on one page. It's really colorful. That will distract my child. But the way they taught it, I liked it. So I just used that as my books for providing instruction. So in my instruction days, when I'm teaching on the board, or I'm creating a pre-recorded video for a lesson that I want my son to go back and watch, I use the Abeka teacher's manual that I've purchased in order to pull examples from and teach from. And that's just the way I like to do it. We also use supplements and resources from Edzakara Challenge Math. I use some other math resources to pull word problems from. As an example, I like different curriculum because I like the varied examples and I like the varied approaches that they teach math in. I have my own methods in terms of how I like to ensure elementary math is taught in order to ensure that the child can effectively and efficiently transition from arithmetic to algebra. So I do incorporate those types of methodologies in my teaching process in the elementary years. But again, I still like to know the other approaches that are there, just to ensure that my child understands that there's various ways of doing it. And I'll teach him those various ways of doing it in a way that it's not confusing him. Okay. Let me see here. Oh, I also put on here, you don't have to finish the curriculum. Whatever curriculum you decide to purchase, okay, when you're making your curriculum decision, you don't have to finish the curriculum. And you don't have to finish the curriculum within the same year. If you're the kind of person where you want to finish the curriculum because they're going to have skills or concepts towards the end of the book that's going to be necessary for the next school year, then absolutely finish the curriculum, but you don't have to do it within a 12-month time span or a 10-month time span or a 9-month time span. If you go into the next grade level having to finish that curriculum, that's okay. Who says you can't, right? And keep in mind, normally in the beginning of a new curriculum within the same brand, so for example, if you're doing Abeka, or if you're doing Saxon Math, especially Saxon Math, if you're doing MCP, Modern Curriculum Press, Singapore Math, whatever, normally the first few chapters, 1 to maybe 5 to 6 chapters, are basically a review of the last few chapters, or a consolidated form of the last curriculum that you should have completed in the succession of that program. So you may want to skip a few chapters the next following year, okay? The next following year, the following year. Okay. Oh, I also put down here, when you are choosing a curriculum and you are going through the process of looking at the number of problems that they're giving your son or daughter, don't shy away from the curriculum because they're providing too many problems for your son or daughter to do. Keep in mind, you don't have to do all the problems, okay? If they're giving you 100 problems, you don't have to assign your son or daughter 100 problems to complete at one time. You can break that up in days or you can say do the odds or do the evens. But if you're doing odds or evens, ensure that you're having an array of problems that are being provided within the examples you're asking your son or daughter to complete. So I'm okay with that. Do odds, do evens, while also ensuring, again, that the selection of problems have multiple concepts within it, so that they're not missing anything. And if you want them to do all of them, do all of them. Have them do it over a course of a few days or so. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that to you. And I think I already said be okay with changing or trashing your curriculum because it doesn't work, okay? And along with your curriculum, when we talked about unit studies, the unit study approach, when you choose a curriculum, when you are diving into the program, remember, you can always pull out a concept the child doesn't understand, and you can do notebooking, you can do lap booking to help them further understand it. You can bring in your own manipulatives. You know, you don't have to use the manipulatives that the curriculum provider is telling you to purchase from them. You can go to Amazon and find cheaper manipulatives to use. You can use manipulatives around your home, you know, especially in the elementary school ages, you know, kindergarten through first and second grade. You can use beans, you can use Cheerios, you can use candy, you can use buttons and things of that nature. Be creative, okay? It doesn't have to be real expensive, guys. And I think that's all I had. That's all I had. Wonderful. So those are all the things that I look or I watch out for, or I ask myself, I write down and tailor this information that I'm sharing with you today for each of my children when I make a decision for my math curriculum. You don't have to use these exact same questions or these exact same points that I have made for other subjects, but you could use some of them. A lot of other subjects have a mastery and a spiral approach. They have different additions. You still want to ask yourself if you want to be the teacher or not. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say the points that I brought up today is not only useful for selecting a math curriculum, it's also useful for selecting a language arts curriculum as an example, or a history curriculum as an example. Okay, so I do want to leave you with one final thought. And that final thought is, when you are purchasing your curriculum and you're going through your curriculum and you're going through the process of deciding what's the best curriculum for you and your family, most importantly, the child that's being taught, for any subject, please keep in mind, guys, that the curriculum is not your master, okay? The curriculum is not your master. The curriculum is your servant. The curriculum is supposed to serve you and your children, okay? It is not a master where it's supposed to dictate everything you say, everything you do, how you do it, how long you're supposed to do it, what you're supposed to get out of it. It's not supposed to be rigid unless you want it to, okay? But in my humble opinion, the curriculum is supposed to be tailored to the needs of my son or my daughter. And if it's not presented in a way, or it's not inclusive of everything that I need, then I am open to looking at other methods and bringing in those supplemental materials and resources to make it all work. So again, I want to leave you with the same thought. Your curriculum should not be your master. It should be your servant. With that said, if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comment section below. And as always, everyone, be blessed and make it a great day. Bye.